Could 100 Tojis with perfect information defeat Gojo? Let's talk about that and more on today's Juju Stroll, brought to you by Rose, who asked me a handful of questions here, starting with this one. And first of all, what do I mean by perfect information? Well, Rose said that we're going to assume that this Toji knows about purple, knows about domain expansion, and all that jazz. And we are assuming this is like an adult prime Gojo, not teen Gojo. And this is tough because we're also equipping all of them with the full arsenal, which means all 100 Tojis have the inverted Spear of Heaven. So they all have a way past infinity. And that's quite overwhelming, especially because Gojo's domain will need consent from Toji in order to catch him in it. So Gojo doesn't have the win condition of just domaining them all, right? He has to actually beat them all, you know, with hand-to-hand or with purple, red, blue, which I do think is possible, but 100 of them, even though Gojo is far faster than him, which he is, in my opinion, 100 is still a lot to keep track of when you can't use the domain to help weed them out. So here's what I'll say. If we're snapping our fingers and there's just an arena and the fight is on immediately, I'm gonna go Gojo. I think he's sufficiently fast enough and smart enough to deal with them, especially once he realizes inverted spear is on the table. However, if we're going prep time, then I'm going to lean Toji, because Toji has been shown to be like a strategic mastermind. I mean, he got to teen Gojo via his very specific plan. So if there's 100 of them with 100 inverted spears and prep time, I think they'll be able to beat Gojo, because again, he can't really use his domain against them. And then Rose also asked me same question, but with Maki. And I think Maki and Toji are equal. But what I'll say is that Maki hasn't necessarily shown the same strategic genius that Toji did. So I would give the edge to Gojo in the Maki matchup, both instantaneously and with prep time. All right, probably gonna have to start and stop the video a lot to remind myself of these questions, but the next one is 100 Tojis and 100 Makis, all with their full arsenal against Sukuna. And this one's a lot easier in my opinion, because Sukuna just slams because of his open domain. So not only does he far outclass them stat-wise, like much faster, much stronger, but unlike Gojo, he can pop the open domain and just sit in the center of it. And they can't do anything about it, you know? Because unlike a closed domain, some of them could, like, you know, wait outside and then maybe destroy it, but they can't destroy Sukuna's open domain, right? So if he just sits at the center, they can't ever get to him because they don't have simple domain or anything to protect them. But it's not going to be just a stalemate with Sukuna sitting in the center, like taunting them, right? They'll just have to worry about if and when he's going to open the domain, because if he ever does, everyone in that 200-meter radius is dead. So I just think he easily wins, because we also know that he can pop 5 or 6 domains. So it's like always going to be a threat. Even if they manage to, you know, get him to cast one domain and then exit it, they're still not safe. So yeah, Sukuna clears. Next, we've got 50 unawakened Mahitos and 50 awakened Mahitos versus Sukuna, and same story, different day. Like, they're not doing anything to Sukuna. I don't think there's any amount of Mahitos that could really do anything to Sukuna. He's way, way faster than them, way stronger than him. His domain will completely destroy theirs, and he can do soul damage. So, like, Mahito's not going to be able to ever touch him. Next, Rose asked, what if Sukuna tried to body snatch Gojo or Kinjaku? And this is interesting because, you know, what makes a suitable Sukuna vessel is pretty nebulous. We know that Yuji was specifically designed for the purpose, and Megami was strong enough to do it by chance, you know, like he had the strength of potential to be Sukuna's vessel. So in terms of strength of potential, Gojo seemingly should be good in that category, right? Kinjaku probably good in that category, but Sukuna just would not be able to possess Gojo. He wouldn't be able to literally feed the finger to him because of infinity, right? And then Kinjaku, he probably just had no interest in. Maybe he wasn't strong enough, like maybe there wasn't enough potential there in Sukuna's eyes, but even if there was, I guess that vessel just didn't interest him, or maybe he was even prevented from trying due to their binding vow. But if he had taken over Gojo, good night universe, right? If he takes over Kinjaku, it's scary, but it's not really any more scary compared to like what he was already capable of, in my opinion. Next, Rose asked me, what is the strongest possible reversal? And this is tough. It kind of put me on the spot because there aren't really any reversals, right? So it's just what I can come up with. But I'll tell you where my mind went immediately. It was somebody like Ryu, who has, you know, just a very powerful attack to begin with, but that's kind of boring. And then I was thinking Yuta, because the copy technique is just crazy, right? So if the reversal of copy is paste, then there's some crazy potential there with Yuta potentially being able to give people curse techniques, right? So I think that would be my answer. Next, Rose asked me, what if there was this hypothetical situation where Geto slash Kinjaku died and essentially became a vengeful curse spirit, where their ability was, instead of curse spirit manipulation, it was like sorcerer spirit manipulation, where they could consume and then wield jujutsu sorcerers. So that's a really cool concept. Yeah, I mean, that would be extremely powerful, assuming you could, you know, be strong enough to kill the most powerful sorcerers to then, you know, put them in your army. So I like that idea. Something we talked about before at some point was like a sorcerer with the ability to like create vengeful cursed spirits. So I feel like this kind of falls along that line. And then finally today, Rose says there are some fan theories out there that Mei could be like a descendant or relative of the Gojo clan. So what if she inherited the 6 eyes after Gojo's passing? And I don't think she's related to the Gojo clan. But in a what if scenario where she did, it would probably be very bad for everybody else, because Mei is not a good person. Like, I don't think she would, you know, act benevolently and do the good for the society. She would probably abuse that power to its maximum potential. So I think we should all be very glad that she is not a member of the Gojo clan. Alrighty, y'all, that's gonna do it for this one. This was our longest Juju Stroll yet, so thank you for accompanying me, and shout out to Rose for all the questions today. Your boy's actually on the way to the farmer's market, so if you want to join me for that and you're not already following me over on Instagram, head on over there. I might throw up a few stories. But also, if you're watching this video today when I put it out, we're having our next Attack on Titan watch party today, probably in about 2 hours from the time I post this video. We're going to be watching the first 5 episodes of season 4 part 2, so we're getting near the end, and we'd love to have you join us for that. I can't remember if I said this or not, but it's taking place in the Discord. You should be able to find a link in all the normal places, but we'd love to see y'all there. And as always, thanks for watching.